the second installment of our program today will be Bill Smith, who we've asked him. Actually, I asked him what he wanted to talk about, and he said anatomy of a tree. And I thought, well, that'll be intriguing. And sure enough, he produced what seems to me to be a very professional presentation, almost a PhD dissertation on the anatomy of a tree. I'm bowled over by what he showed me on the internet last night. Anyway, we're happy to have Bill speak for us at this point. And with no further ado, Bill, go ahead, take it.
Okay, I'm gonna switch over to my presentation. I've made a presentation, and well, let me switch over so that you can see it, and I'll start it. Just hold on. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, just a second. Slideshow from the beginning.
I see no bar branches.
Yeah, well, start from the beginning. Okay, this is, hold on one second here. Oh, here it is. This is the presentation. It's basically the anatomy of a tree.
There is a box in the top left corner. I think it says resume slideshow. Maybe that'll work.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it?
In this actual slide, top left corner.
I was there last week with my Saturday. I got bonsai.
Forward.
Where the leaf picture is, if you look up above the left of the leaf picture.
There's a white
Oh.
box.
No,
In the right
for
order.
Anything.
no. For PowerPoint, you want to go into view.
View? Where's view? We just had this.
The top bar.
I see you.
Why would this happen? Let me start all over. Yeah.
There. Good.
Okay. Basically, can we move this? Yeah. I want to move this out of the way. Yeah, that's better. All right. The name of the program is The Anatomy of a Tree. Oh, boy, this is really going to be a dog.
Good. Good.
That's good.
Okay, but I'm trying to move.
Beautiful photo.
Hide the thumbnails. Okay, here we go. The purpose of this this presentation is to basically give those who have been in bonsai or who are new to bonsai a little bit of knowledge about what happens inside of a tree. If you look at this particular slide here, the one that I'm circling, this is what we see when we look at a tree. We see the nabari, beneath the nabari, the roots. We see the trunk, and then we see the branches and the leaves and what the tree bears, fruits, nuts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. To delve further into the tree, we're going to look at the cross section of a tree. In this illustration, you have three different, can you see my cursor?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have these three images. I'm going to be concentrating on this third one because it's more descriptive, and it also has the colors to show you the different rings inside of a tree. As you can see with the different colors, you can see the actual parts of a cross section of a tree. For example, you have the outer bark, you have in this green area here, inner bark, or it's part of the cambium called the cork cambium. Then you have the light blue area here, or no, that's like a little green ring there. Can you see that green ring?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yes.
That's a secondary or inner bark. The red here you see is a vascular cambium. We're going to be talking about this, these different parts in depth as we go along. So suffice it to just say this is the cross section of the of a tree trunk. That cambium layer that we talked about, basically, if you look at the middle here, you could see once you scrape off a piece of the bark, you have this greenish color. That's your cambium. The cambium houses your xylem and your phloem, which I will discuss or talk about a little bit as we go. Here is another example where you have that dark green is still part of the bark. As it goes lighter, you have the cambium, and then here you have the heartwood, and in the middle, the pith. This particular slide shows a cambium graft. This graft, most of you already know what grafting is. It's the actual taking a branch and securing it to the host. In this case, this would be the host, and this would be the actual branch that you're grafting to it. If you look at these red lines and the blue lines, that's the cambium region. The cambium between the two have to touch each other so as to continue with the flow of the hormones throughout the tree. Once you wrap this up and keep it moist by putting plastic around it or burlap or something to hold that moisture in, eventually it's going to meld together and become one whole branch. We in bonsai use vascular plants. Now you may say, what is a vascular plant? First of all, it's called a tracheophyte. Don't be alarmed by the names, the botanical names. Basically, a tracheophyte is a vascular plant. A vascular plant basically has a xylem and a phloem. I'm going to be using the term xylem and phloem quite a bit. So we're going to continue to move on, and eventually you're going to have a good understanding of what the xylem and the phloem is all about. When we talk about vascular flow, we're basically talking about how the tree funnels its nutrients, its water, its minerals, etc., throughout the plant. The illustration on the left here is a diagram of the xylem. As you can see, the xylem flows from the roots upward, and it's also responsible for transpiration, which we'll talk about that a little bit as well. But through the phloem, it's unidirectional, meaning that it goes up, and it transports your water, your minerals, and nutrients. Phloem The phloem, on the other hand, is bidirectional, meaning that it flows downward and it also flows upward to supply the leaves, the branches, through the stem, with the nutrients and, in this case, the sugars throughout the tree. This second image here, you could see the blue line, which represents the xylem flow, and the phloem flow being red. The phloem flows in both directions. That's why you see it, the arrow pointing down, and you see the arrow pointing in and up. The xylem, which is from the roots down on up to the top of the tree, will give us our water flow, and it's going to flow through the leaves to transpiration. Transpiration basically is the process of the leaves actually breathing out oxygen. Going to the next slide, we talk about photosynthesis. As you can see in the illustrations, photosynthesis, you may have heard about this in your biology class in high school, is basically light and carbon dioxide on the surface of the tree that creates the food source for the tree to grow. The tree in itself will give out oxygen. In this case also, it's transpiration. And here's another example of basically how photosynthesis occurs. You have the light source, you have the carbon dioxide going in, and oxygen and glucose flowing out. Uh-oh, got a dog. Here
The
is
dog is imagining she's seeing something.
here is another couple of illustrations of photosynthesis. I added these extra examples so that you can get a different way of showing basically the same thing. You have light coming in, carbon dioxide, CO2 going in, and out comes a water vapor, and sugar goes to the leaves and the stem.
Is that a marijuana plant?
Looked like it.
It looks
Okay.
suspicious to me.
Okay, all right. All right.
Yeah.
That's what I
I
thought.
wasn't the only one seeing it.
First
I
one.
wanted to say something.
Yeah, I was
I wouldn't
wondering about
know.
shit. I'm like, I'm going to say it. That's a marijuana plant.
But
I
I,
was ready to put that in
I
chat.
wouldn't know.
Well, I know, and it is.
Okay.
All right, calm down now. Calm down, all you druggies.
Ugh.
Okay. The next thing I wanted to talk about is basically the hormones and growth. What do these hormones do? This particular diagram, there are basically 5 hormones, and it gives you what the hormones are actually doing. But let me go to the next slide, for example. They call it the big 5 plant hormones. And of the 5, we're going to just, I'm going to talk about each one of them. They're called auxin, gibberellins, not giblets, Sam, gibberellins.
Or gibberish.
Yeah, or gibberish, right? There's cytokininins, ethylene, and abscisic acid. Of the 5, 3 of them are growth promoters, and then you have growth inhibitors. The first hormone that I'm going to talk about is auxin. The auxin hormone has to do with cell division and plant shoot movement. How many of you have seen your trees grow towards the sun? Well, auxins is the reason for doing that. If you look at this illustration over here, if the light direction is going from right to left, auxins, they move to the left side of the stem or branch. And as a result, auxins, it's a growth hormone. What it does is it elongates. And when these auxin cells, these little dots, elongate, it actually pushes the stem towards the light. So that's an explanation as to why your plants will grow towards the light. But keep in mind, auxins are for cell division and plant shoot movement. The second plant hormone are the giblets or the gibberellins. The gibberellins is the hormone that has to do with node length. You look at your trees. Have you ever seen your tree? The node length is very small and it almost looks like a rosette. Well, that's due to a lack of gibberellins. This middle example, if that's normal, this would lack gibberellins. Number 3 here would show you that you have more gibberellins than, I guess, necessary.
Let me see.
On this slide,
Whoa.
I thought this was really funny because here you have a lack of gibberellins, and here you have an overabundance of gibberellins. Just keep in mind that gibberellin plant hormones mainly stimulates elongation of internodes. The next
Is that a
one-
bit?
Yes,
Is that a mineral? Gibberellins, are those minerals?
they're hormones.
Hormone.
You know, we
So
have
does that mean we can
our
give it a
body.
shot? Give
What
it
was that
less
question?
hormones, more hormones? No.
Your plant makes these. Healthy plants make these.
Yes.
And
But I
It's
believe you
all
can
a
give
thing.
it a shot, actually. Yes,
Yes,
that's
you
actually
can.
true. You can give it a
Yeah.
shot.
yes,
Sometimes they gas plants to control their growth or color too.
Okay, the next hormone is called cytokinins. Cytokinins are responsible for plant cell selection. Hold that thought for a second. This meristem, which resides in the roots, in the tip of the roots, basically is an undifferentiated cell, meaning that cell it's like a stem cell in that it'll take on the characteristics of
oh,
cytokines. Cytokines will determine the characteristics of that meristem. The cytokines plus a little auxin for carbs and food will determine whether you're going to grow a leaf, a branch, a piece of fruit, a bud. That's what this cytokine is used for. Does everyone understand that?
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, they're the troublemakers.
You have the meristem, which is undifferentiated. It doesn't know what to be. And the cytokine, which says, you are now going to be a leaf.
Got it.
Got it.
Okay, here are some more illustrations of the cytokines. It's a group of hormones that stimulate cytokinesis, which is cell division. They're produced in the roots. So how is it transported? Through the xylem. We talked about the xylem before, where it flows upwards. So if it's in the roots, there's no place to go other than through the xylem, through the stem, the trunk of the tree, out to the leaves, et cetera, et cetera. Now here we have ethylene. Ethylene is the only gaseous hormone. Ethylene basically, it's a gas that stimulates lateral branching in potted plants, opening up flowers. If you look at this image here, that's a picture of one of my bald cypress, where ethylene, I believe, created root rot. And as a result, the plant is dying.
I think that's a pine, Bill. I think it's a pine.
A slash pine. What did I say?
Cypress.
You said
Okay.
cypress, but it's a pine, yeah.
It's a pine, right? The detrimental effects of ethylene, this gas, is bud and leaf abscession. It'll cause the leaves to fall off. It's a ripening hormone. It'll cause leaves to yellow, loss of deep color, and eventually petal drop. That's due to an extra amount of ethylene.
No, that's not right.
This is what ripens a fruit, bananas or
Yes.
whatever. If you put them inside
Yeah.
a bag.
Yes, because
Yes.
it's a gas, it can happen anywhere on the tree. It can happen at the fruit level. It can happen in the roots. It can happen on a branch. You've seen leaves fall off a tree, ethylene. You've seen apples turn from green to red, ethylene. It's a ripening agent, and it can manifest itself anywhere, any spot, and even travel from one tree to the next. If you look at a bunch of bananas will start off green, but then at some point in time, you'll see the first flush of bananas that'll get those brown speckles and then get darker and darker. That's ethylene being transmitted throughout that bunch of bananas. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. The last hormone is called abscisic acid, and that is thirst control. When I think of abscisic acid, I think of thirst control. When you see the leaves on your tree wilting, abscisic acid goes out. If you look at this, let's look at this little cartoon character here. When water is plentiful, plants suck it up and breathe it out into the air. In times of drought, plants slow down. They slow down transpiration. We said before that transpiration are leaves actually giving off water and oxygen. When your tree is in a droughting scenario, the plants slow down the transpiration. Better not put so much water out into the air Turn on receptors, abscisic acid to the rescue. Up the phloem tubes, I go to work. Close the stoma, guard cells swell up. If you look at, this is the stoma. And as you can see, this black area, the stoma is open. Now it's closing. Now it's closed, right? The end, it says, when is the rain coming? I don't know. Stay calm. Don't breathe too much. Don't transpire. So I thought it was pretty funny.
Pretty clear.
Okay.
Transpire and expire. That's pretty close.
All right. Here is an example of that stoma, right? Here is a swollen, where the stoma is open, this white area. These are the guard cells, these little bean-shaped. When your plant goes into dehydration, the abscisic acid starts flowing and it starts affecting the guard cells. It makes those guard cells close. The guard cells close, and what happens to the stoma? It closes. Your plant now is trying to save itself. So this particular hormone, abscisic acid, for thirst control in relation to the stomata, saves your plant. Water your plant. Okay, we talked about the xylem and the phloem. This is once again the transport of the plant hormones, nutrition, and water. This is the transport. We said before that through the xylem flows from the roots to the top of the tree. The phloem flows bidirectional in both directions. This is another example of how the xylem, which is this red area, that's where your water, nutrients from roots to the top goes through. Your phloem, which is bidirectional, are these little brown spots, which is bidirectional. Here is another example of another way of looking at the xylem and the phloem. Another one. I put quite a few of these examples. Yes? I put a few examples of the xylem and the phloem vessel in, because sometimes seeing it different ways will give you a better way of understanding what it actually does. Here, once again, is the difference between the xylem and the phloem in a tabular form. On the right side, on the left side, you have your xylem information and its corresponding phloem explanation. This is some more. This talks about the actual tissue. The tissue of the xylem, which is the acquisition of water and minerals from the soil and transporting them to all parts. It possesses two separate chambers, tracheids and vessels, which are used for transporting minerals and water. The phloem, once again, is another vessel that flows downward. In my conclusion, I put together this presentation so that you can know what goes on inside of a tree. It's one thing to just put it in a pot and just water it and give it some fertilizer, but you have to do a little bit more to really understand the tree. If you understand the cross section of a tree, what photosynthesis is, the 5 basic plant hormones, and the water transport, and the difference between the xylem and the phloem, which is a vascular bundle, it'll better enable you to be able to diagnose problems with your tree and also maintain the tree. This presentation, I hope, is useful to you. You can I can email it to you if you would like a copy of it. And at this point now, we can go into a little discussion. If you have some questions, let's shoot.
That was great.
Great job.
Fantastic, Bill. Very thorough.
Well,
I have a question, Bill.
uh-huh.
Okay, when a tree is in its natural environment, it draws everything from the soil that it's in to feed the tree, and by way of this vascular system, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So when we put it in a pot, and if you use straight up bonsai soil, almost no nutrient there, it's reliant on our fertilizer.
Right.
And that fertilizer mixed with the water,
Yes.
hits the vascular system, produces the sugars and starches that it needs. By adjusting, do we know,
Sugars, let me just stop you there for a second.
Yes.
The sugars come through photosynthesis.
Gotcha. Yes.
All right.
Okay. So the other nutrients, if we adjust fertilizer, potassium or nitrogen or on and on, can we provide some of these elements? Yeah, some of these hormones that our tree may be missing. And how do we find out which one of these types of fertilizer produces this?
Well,
Did that make any sense?
well, let me just say this, gibberellians, okay? Farmers use it to ripen apples.
Right.
So we also know that gibberellians is used, it affects the internodal length, right? If you have a tree, like I had a ficus here, the pods look like rosettes. You know, all the leaves were clumped down in a very small area, and it looked pretty because it looks like a little rosette, but it wasn't the way it should be. I added some fertilizer, and believe it or not, maybe the fertilizer had gibberellians in it, but when I defoliated, it came back with the nodes longer. So whether it's in Shake and Feed, Osmocote, you can look at them, but you can look at them more intelligently by knowing the hormones that are within that tree.
Mm-hmm.
That's just with gibberellians. With the ethylene, which is that gas that we talked about, that gas, it grows. It's within the tree that will, when a tree is getting ready to go dormant, that ethylene has to go through the tree to actually knock the leaves off.
Okay.
You know, that's ethylene at work.
Mm-hmm.
So these hormones, what I gave you is a very basic understanding of the 5 hormones that
Right.
we're concerned with. You'd have to do a little bit more reading. I would have to do even a little bit more reading to understand what specifically these hormones, this specific hormone is doing.
Yeah.
And how to treat my plant. My tree.
Okay. All right. Because there are also micronutrients that affect
Yeah,
all of it too. It would be very interesting to find out,
yes.
which of these nutrients affects what. That would be interesting.
Well, if you go on the internet and let's say cytokinins, right? I just gave you a very broad understanding, right?
Very good.
If you look up cytokinins, you really are going to spend some time trying to understand all the other things that contribute to what this cytokinin does. So this is just something to kind of like wet your whistle to get you to go to the internet to somehow find that other information.
Mm-hmm.
Bill?
This was very, very good. It's definitely stimulated my need to research. That's good.
Bill, I have a
Can I
question.
interject something?
Yes.
I went to Virginia Tech. I graduated from Virginia Tech, and they are really big into agricultural research.
Mhm.
And they did a study that said if you use 69% fulvic acid, I think it's a 1-to-3 ratio with soluble sea kelp, that your plants are going to grow like crazy. Now, this was for agricultural use.
Right.
I assume that would be the same for, bonsai plants. And, but, of course, I don't understand actually what that does, if that maybe is some kind of hormone thing or what. I just know that was the study and that was the perfect ratio.
Well-
So I just throw that out there. I mean, this is such an interesting subject.
I just looked
That's all I know.
online, and you can purchase gibberellium, and farmers do in some cases, but I'm thinking since it's a hormone that's all plants use, it may be created internally. It may be like vitamin D is for humans.
Mhm.
Yes.
You get it from the sun,
Yes.
or you get it, but you can supplement it by taking vitamin D. And it could be that if you have a balance of the kind of fertilizer that the plant needs, it will produce the amount that it
That
prefers.
it needs.
Yeah.
Yes. I like that. Yes.
Just guessing.
Yeah. I mentioned 5 hormones. I know for a fact that there are more than 5. Okay, but the basic 5 is what we as bonsai artists will be more you interested in. Okay, but there are more. Okay, but you have to be a botanical horticulturist, type person to really get into the micro, the other types of hormones that can be found in these trees. The 5 that I gave you is just the 5 basic ones. If you want to know more about it, you can look on the internet. And believe me, when I was doing some of the research here, it's a lot.
And if I could add something, at one of our sessions with our Adam, he pointed out that even though I hear what you're saying about rapid growth and the best thing to grow crops, but the plants sometimes need less fertilizer because the internodes and the shape of your tree, it's a balance.
Yes,
Does that make sense?
yes.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
You get just
That's why
crop.
that's why I use basic fertilizers for my tree. I use Osmocote, Shake and Feed, you know, things like that are that are kind of balanced for the tree for my purposes. Okay, if I were a farmer and I wanted to grow bigger cantaloupes, then maybe I need to up a particular hormone for greater growths. You know, I remember when I was a kid, watermelons used to be this big. Now you see them and they're like this and for the same price, right?
Ain't that the truth?
So it depends. The hormones, if you're going to supplement hormones, you have to know, you have to know what are you looking for, how much to use, when to use it. That's beyond my pay grade.
Yeah, I'd like to mention something that Bill said, which has terrific application if you're creating deadwood on a bonsai. You really got to be careful how much bark you remove. And if you cut too deeply, think of the phloem and the xylem as strands that provide the living material for those branches that travel on that side of the bark.
Yes.
So if you go too deeply, that side of your tree will die, or branches that are fed by that xylem or phloem will die.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike a palm, which is a monocot, which simply means that the entire core of the palm is all xylem and phloem. So you can cut half of the trunk off on a palm, and the entire palm still lives because every part of that cross section is carrying nutrients up and down that tree. Whereas in the dicots, which we're talking about, all of the nutrients are carried in the circumference of the bark. So if you cut off one side of that circumference, that side does not get any nutrients. So it has direct application for any deadwood that you're creating. So you really have to be mindful of what you want bare and what you don't.
Yeah, generally speaking, what you're saying is correct, but these feeding tubes that we used to call them, there are some that with a cut that will, if the cut is done gradually, they will actually reroute around that cut. But there are other species where they will not reroute, and therefore that whole side will die. So you have to know your species and how they work. Fukian tea, if you cut off a large branch, you're in danger of losing everything on that side from there down. So you got to be very careful about the species when you're doing that. Yes.
Conifers actually have these vessels that spiral up the trunk.
Yes.
And if you make a wrong cut and you hit that spiral in the wrong spot, everything above it dies.
Yep.
So this is a really fascinating topic. I guess we're going to have to call you Professor Bill, huh?
Very, very good.
Well done. Very professional.
This presentation, it can be emailed to anyone that wants it. I kind of glossed over it. If you want to be able to read the entire slide, I can send you the email.
I think it was emailed already because I have it. Judy,
Yeah,
you
Judy
emailed it
sent
already?
it to us.
Judy sent it already yesterday, I believe.
Oh,
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, but it didn't come through on mine. When I opened it, it was a blank PowerPoint. There's nothing on it. So I did send you a private message, Bill. If you'll send it to my email and try again. I do have PowerPoint loaded in my computer, but what Judy sent was blank for me.
Oh, it opened for me.
It opened on my iPad.
I'll try to send it to you again, Chris.
Okay, thanks.
All right, that was really well done. Thank you, Bill.
Very good.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Excellent.
Sam, you want to wrap up?
Yeah. Everybody else, nothing else to discuss? Anybody while we're here? No?
I have a quick repotting question.
Go ahead,
I have
Dave.
a friend that has a Green Island ficus, and it's never been in bonsai soil. And when I was working on it the other day, it has spider mites on it. It looks like there's a lot mixed in the soil. Can I take it out of the regular garden soil and put it in bonsai soil now without?
Martha?
What I would do, okay, is you can get slow release systemics to put, you sprinkle on the soil and work them in.
Okay.
And then other things to spread. Spider mites are particularly annoying. And then get something in that will kill spider mites to spray the top. I would not repot until I had gotten them all. Just taking them out of that soil is not going to get rid of the spider mites.
Okay.
Okay. Even if you wash it all off, you know, you need to use systemic in the soil that will kill them, and a spray for the top that will kill them. Okay.
And you could
Okay.
use a
I have the spray for the top. What should I buy for the soil?
They're miticides.
Miticides?
Yes, they're miticides.
Systemic? Like at Home Depot?
The systemic I use, oh goodness, comes in a big blue container.
Bayer 3-in-1.
Bayer makes one.
Bayer.
Yeah, Bayer
Bayer
makes
3-in-1?
it.
Bayer
Read
3-in-1.
your label. Make sure it has mites included.
Yeah.
You know.
The other thing you can do is take a hard stream of water and wash the leaves.
Yes.
Yes, you can do that too. Mm-hmm.
I had a desert rose that everybody loves, at least that sees it, and it developed these. I don't know if it's spider mite, but they were white on the underside of the leaf, and it was like cottony looking or scaly looking, and I would pluck the leaves off that I saw it, but then I started hosing it real hard, and it kind of slowed down, but it didn't eradicate it. So I used the Bayer 3-in-1, and I sprayed the soil, the under the leaves, the bark, everything, right? And I did it multiple times, you know, every 2-3 days, and now it's flourishing again.
Yeah. Spider mites, I doubt if you had spider mites, they're extremely difficult to see with the naked eye.
Oh, wow. These were white.
Yeah, you probably had some type of scale.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
The thing also with spider mites is that you have to treat it repeatedly. When they have their babies, it's like 7 to 10 days. You have to repeat the treatment.
Yes, I was going to say once a week for 3 weeks is what is generally recommended. But you have to make sure that what you're using says miticide or kills mites, this, that, you know, but make sure it says that. They are resilient.
Yeah, the most effective treatment for spider mites is a combination of both the surface spray, a 3-in-1, which is an insecticide, a miticide.
Yes.
Spiders are not insects, they're arachnids. And so that's what a miticide is. And the third is a fungicide. That's the 3-in-1. You can also get it in organic spray. Safer makes a 3-in-1 as well. But when you do the surface, you're only killing the live spiders.
That's
You're not
right.
killing eggs. And that's what the systemic does. It takes about 3 weeks to a month for a systemic to get into the plant. So in treating any insect, even in your landscape, a combination of the two is the way to go.
Right. You use the systemic first on your soil, and when you spray the top, now protect it from strong sunlight. Don't do it then.
Right.
You've got to do the spraying once a week for at least 3 weeks, because
Okay.
the eggs will keep going for a while in the soil. But don't repot. That's an extra stress.
Okay.
And this is kind of cool time of year to repot anyway.
Yeah.
I have a question about that. I'm thinking that February, like late January and February, are good months to repot a lot of plants, but are there any plants that should not be repotted at that time?
Tropical.
You're real. I was going to say, stay away from the heart of the tropicals, the delicate tropicals. Now, ficus are not generally that delicate, and they'll grow a lot of places, even out of this zone, to a lower zone. But anything that is strictly tropical, don't repot right now.
Like radias.
Black olives.
Black olive, yeah.
Yeah, those types. And also, your crepe myrtle and your elms need to be putting on new buds before that's generally March, before you repot them, okay? Just be careful about it. Do your research. Make sure that it's okay to repot. I know everybody's bored to death being trapped at home, but be careful. Follow the rules on your trees.
Well, Martha,
what about my laurel oak? When can I repot that?
I think laurel oak is early spring.
Yeah,
I don't own any. I'd have to look it up for you, but I think it's early spring.
Martha, you had a listing of temperatures required for repotting,
Yes.
as I recall.
Most tropicals, you have to have a consistent, that means beginning there and going up, never going back down, of 60 degrees and higher for tropicals.
There you go.
And tonight we're going to be in the 40s, so
Exactly.
not now.
Well, some of you are.
You've got your ball cypress that is safe to repot now. Some of your pines, your junipers, stick with those.
You can put your beer out tonight and it'll be cold.
Yeah, you can do that.
Not to change the subject, did we see that Mike Lane got an article in the Bonsai Focus magazine?
Yep.
Not.
About Premnus?
He's going to go, watch him. He's going to go very far. He
If you
is
go
so good.
If you go to Weigard's Bonsai page on Facebook, or Mike Lane's if you're friends with him on Facebook, there's a little thing about where it's going to, when and what magazine it's going to be in, what issue.
Yep. Bonsai Focus, which is a great magazine.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it only concentrates on Yankee trees.
Well,
Where's
Mike
Premna?
Lane has one key thing that makes him really good. He studies.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
It's an exploration of Premna.
All right, everybody. It was a great meeting. I really
That it was.
showed up. Good turnout. And I'm going to still be plugging away on our members. And remember, I have Tesla payments to make, so let's pay them dues.
Mine's in the mail.
Yeah, good. I know.
Check in the mail.
I appreciate
So I'm mechanical man now.
Yeah, I was talking to Sam because Sam and I didn't go see Adam because we're both broken right now.
What's the matter with you?
My back,
Oh,
it went out at the beginning of December and I've been incapacitated, just unbelievable.
have you gone to a back cracker?
I have advanced pain management. I'm seeing a neurologist, surgeon, probably this coming week.
Getting old is not for the weak.
It's been 30 years off and on, but it always resolved in a few days or a week. And now this one's 6 weeks and I can't stand up straight. It's not going to work.
That's no good.
No, it's not my life.
This is beginning to, wait a minute, guys. This is beginning to sound like a Florida conversation.
Sorry, I won't talk